That's a great question, Jack. That is a really good question. Not many people ask me that question. In fact, I don't know if anyone's ever asked me that question. I get lots of people who say, how are they doing? How was your time there? What do you think of this person, this player? What does it mean to me? It was such an incredible period of my life, and it was all down to this very, very unique place of Norwich in Norfolk in England, that because it's quite out of the way in terms of, if you think about the way England runs from north to south, and London in the south, and either Birmingham or Manchester or Leeds in the north, and Norwich City's quite remote. It's out on the side where essentially, unless you can go through Birmingham to go to any of those places, you can go to Manchester to keep going, or Leeds up to anywhere else, or London to go down to you don't go to Norwich unless you're going to Norwich. No one suddenly finds himself in Norwich and how did I get here? It's like you were going to Norwich, that's why you're there. And because it's quite remote, it also means it's very, very quiet. And I think the combination of it was a one city county, which I don't think that exists in the rest of the country. Out of all the counties in England, every other county has more than one team, whereas except Norfolk just has Norwich City. So that, plus the fact that it was right at the start of my career, and because I had been in the Premier League, and then I went to Norwich City, and they were kind of struggling at the start of the time I was there in the 2000s, hadn't been in the Premier League for over 10 years. And the fact that we brought them back to the Premier League, and then within another 6 years, they're then kind of in the Premier League every other year. So I feel like I'm so blessed and grateful to being a part of that journey that kind of brought Norwich City back up to that top level, and winning 2 league titles in 2004 and 2010. That again, I don't know if there is any other Norwich City player. Only myself and Adam Drury, I think, are the only players who have won 2 league titles with Norwich. And so it's just it means so much in terms of it's an incredible place. It's an incredible club because of the way that at my time anyway, for the 8-9 years in total that I was there, that Delia Smith and her husband Michael were in charge of it. And because they're such incredible people and so warm and so generous, it's not like, you could look at this Premier League today and you see all of the teams that are owned by American teams. And I don't know because obviously I have no experience of what happens in those clubs, but I wonder how many players have met the owners.
Yeah.
That might be quite low, maybe a very small percentage. Or let me ask this question. How many Manchester United players do you think have met many Glazers?
Very few.
Not a lot. Probably. That's over 10, 12 years now, so probably not. But the point is, Delia was at the training ground every week. She was so accessible. She was so good. She wanted us to be so successful. She would do anything she could within her power to make us successful or help us be successful. And so all of those combinations, as well as the fact that we had quite relative success, winning a couple of league titles, playing in the championship playoff final, which at the time was the richest game in the world, because it was a £30 million one-off game, which now has gone up to £180 million one-off game. So all of these things that happened over that spell, as well as the fact that it's the people around where I was living are just such incredibly warm people as well. So I think it means so much to me. And actually my experience at Spurs was very different, because London is a very big place and you can get lost in London in every way. Literally, metaphorically, emotionally, you can get lost in London. And especially because I was a young man, I just left Belfast at 16, left all my family and friends. But once I got to Norwich City, I felt like I was a man, more mature at 21. I was then lived through my entire 20s. I actually lived in Norwich for 20 years, from 2000 all the way to 2019, before I moved back home to Belfast. So that just kind of shows the affection and regard I had for Norwich as a place, because it's still to this day, I think it's an incredible place, so unique, and you won't ever find a place like it in England.
We see the likes of Brentford and Brighton having established themselves in the Premier League. Could Norwich potentially have been an even bigger success with the right management, the right financial backing.
And again, I think that's part of it. I think one of the decisions why Delia and her husband Michael Wynne-Jones sold at the time was probably a bit of, I think they'd taken them as far as they could take them. And I think that's where you see with Brentford and Brighton, it's a different ownership. It's a different demographic of ownership. It's a different style of ownership. Whereas Delia and Michael were like, this is our little club. We want to do well. Although when I first met Delia in 2000, her goal was, and this is word for word, verbatim, she said, we want to be the best football club in the world. Now, as a 21-year-old guy, when I heard Delia say this, I thought, she's a bit crazy. How can Norwich City be the best club in the world? But it's not. And now, of course, as a 48-year-old guy, I'm sitting here thinking, well, she owned a football club. So that's the first thing. She was a woman owning a football club is the second thing. And so her ambition to get to the level that she got to in her career and TV career and the amount of millions of books she sold as an author and everything else that she was successful with was because she had the biggest goals. So she had it in every other part of her life. So when it came to her football club, she wanted to be the best in the world. Now, financially, she's not competing with Manchester United and Real Madrid and AC Milan. But the best in the club the best club in the world doesn't necessarily mean financially. It means how they operate, how they do things. And I think now that I've seen what she has done, she bought that club, I think, for £1. I think she bought it for £1 because it was in debt, and she actually lent the club, I think, £7 million whenever she bought the club as part of the deal. And so when she sold the club in the last year or 2 years, I can only imagine she's made a bit of a profit in the region of 100 million, probably, that she made from that, as well as all the enjoyment she got over the years, from 20 odd years of being the owner at Norwich City. But I think
I'd take that profit.
yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad investment. But the interesting thing is that when Delia bought Norwich City in the late 90s, let's say the level was, if you were a multi-millionaire, you could buy a football club. But now, unfortunately, being a multi-millionaire isn't enough to buy a football club. You need to be a billionaire. Yeah. So billionaires that buy football clubs, not millionaires. And Delia is a multi-millionaire. She's not a billionaire. And I think that's when she knew, I've taken Norwich City as far as I can take it. And I think now with the new ownerships from the Americans, and of course because they've had huge success in the American sports, now, depending on the appetite for the American owners, if they want to invest their money or more of their money, then Norwich City has every chance to do what Brighton and Brentford have done, because essentially they have all of the possibility. They've got the space to build a 100,000 seater stadium if they wanted it. They've got the fans, because you get hundreds of thousands. I don't know how many people there are across Norfolk, but the waiting list to try and get a season ticket is like 4 or 5 years. The demand outstrips the supply. They've got the ability that if they have the infrastructure, they've got the training ground. So they've got everything, but what they don't have is the financial backing just yet. So I would say it wouldn't surprise me in 5 years' time if Norwich City aren't doing what the Brightons and Brentfords are doing. Or look at what Tom Brady's doing at Birmingham.
Yeah.
He's just, all they're doing is just taking this incredible amount of resource that they have from their owners and Tom Brady's, obviously his reputation and influence, and they're just going to put it onto a team that in the last 20 years probably hasn't done very well. Ironically, going back to the 2002 playoff final, it was Norwich City against Birmingham City. And I'll show you this, Jacob, up here. I only have one picture in my wall.
Beautiful.
2002, which is Norwich City against Birmingham City. And of course, Birmingham City have had the same ups and downs as Norwich City have had, although Norwich have probably been more successful in the last 20 years. And Birmingham have had this real dip. But of course, with Tom Brady, sees a great opportunity. And he'll probably do what Ryan Reynolds is doing with Wrexham.